Committee on Oversight and Government Reform will come to order. We appreciate you being here as we have a hearing today regarding the construction costs and delays at the United States Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan. Without objection, the Chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time. Appreciate being here. This is an important topic. We have so many Americans who have given their lives in Afghanistan, who have sacrificed away from their families to serve the United States of America and our interests there. We have a duty and an obligation to make sure that they are well housed, that they are safe, that they are secure, that they're able to do their jobs and their duty. And yet, after more than a decade of fighting and great work by our United States military, we are deeply concerned about what the State Department is doing or hasn't done in Kabul to make sure that our embassy facility there is in proper order. The State Department has invested or plans to invest more than $2.17 billion in facilities. It probably makes it the single most expensive facility that we have around the globe, and if not the most expensive, certainly one of the most expensive. Is there a threat? Yes, there is a threat there. It is in a very dangerous place. Is it safe? No, it is not safe there. Did we hire the right contractors to put in place to make this happen? Evidently not. We've had to readjust contracts. We've had to dismiss some people along the way. The budget that was projected has now gone up more than 27%. Is this project and this build out in Kabul on time? No, it's not. It was supposed to be open last year. Now it looks like it might be 2017, some 3 years behind schedule. Is there a strategic plan? No. According to the GAO, there is not. Are there standards in place? No, there are not, according to the GAO. Is the security plan for temporary facilities in place? No, there is not. And so after more than a decade, this seems to be a fiasco. It is a mess. And one of the core questions is, did we learn what we were supposed to learn when we were in Iraq? Evidently not. Keeping Americans safe who work in the Foreign Service in Kabul, Afghanistan is a constant challenge. Just last week, Taliban militants attacked a NATO convoy just 500 yards from the United States Embassy in Kabul. There's an article in the Washington Post dated July 7th saying a suicide bomber rammed a car in an armored vehicle that was part of a NATO convoy here in the Afghan capital on Tuesday, the second such attack against coalition troops in a week. The attacks come a week after militants targeted a coalition convoy near the United States Embassy, killing 2 Afghan civilians and wounding nearly 30. The week before, militants stormed the Afghan parliament in Kabul in broad daylight in what appears to be a coordinated attack. These incidents make clear we have to ensure our brave men and women serving in these hostile environments are safe. And one of the best ways to ensure their safety is to provide secure facilities for them to perform their diplomatic missions. But after an investigation by the GAO, are they safe? No, they're not, and that's not acceptable. Due to the mismanagement by the State Department, however, it's not happening in Kabul. As a result, American diplomatic staff in Afghanistan are being exposed to unnecessary danger. Last July, the Government Accountability Office reviewed the construction of the Kabul Embassy facility and found the State Department failed to properly acknowledge known risks. These risks include the award of a contract for work before the contract site was even acquired, an unrealistic schedule for work to be completed under, changes in the number of staff at the complex, and changes in the design of the building and security requirements. Again, temporary facilities don't even have a security plan at this point. And as a result of these failures, construction would take more time, cost more money, leaving embassy staff less secure in temporary facilities. We would lay these out in even greater specificity, but we would not want to give the enemy an attack plan. But there are vulnerabilities, and we have to address those. In May, the GAO once again reviewed the construction of the new embassy complex in Kabul, and once again the review identified a number of significant but preventable problems. The lack of planning by the State Department resulted in cost overruns and delays. Construction is now projected to come in at least 27% over budget and more than 3 years behind schedule. Part of the project was originally expected to cost $625 million. It is now estimated to cost at least $792 million. Because the State Department failed to properly plan for the project, it's continuing to negotiate with its contractor, so the current cost overruns could become even larger. One of the factors causing these delays and cost overruns is the Department's failure to follow its own directive to have strategic facilities plan. As its name implies, a strategic facilities plan outlines how a particular facility will be developed and used. The need for a strategic facilities plan is especially critical for facilities like Kabul, where there is a high turnover in personnel. One of the things highlighted in the GAO report is that there are constantly turnover in personnel. And if you don't have a plan, new person coming in has a large and long learning curve. The State Department recently rescinded the requirements for the development of a strategic plan for any facility, which was a requirement that had been in place since 1990. So because of the State Department's poor planning and the use of temporary facilities where Americans must live and work, they will continue indefinitely in Kabul. In fact, amazingly, the State Department recently requested an additional $124 million for temporary facilities. It is unclear why State didn't do a better job planning for permanent or secure buildings, which resulted in the wasting of taxpayer dollars on temporary facilities. It appears, at least to me, that the effort to move towards temporary facilities is a way to get around some of the requirements that need to go into good and better planning. Not only does State not properly plan for permanent facilities, it also has no standards for temporary facilities. The State Department's own actions in Kabul make it clear how critical such standards are. In its fiscal year 2008 budget request, State expressed to Congress concerns about the threat to the Kabul facility posed by incoming weapons fire. However, as the GAO pointed out, quote, the only secure protection measure specified in the 2009 contract for temporary housing was shatter-resistant window film, end quote. That's it, little film on the windows. I'm no expert, but I don't think shatter-resistant windows can stop a bullet, a grenade, an RPG, and whatnot. And yet we ask our Americans to live there in this high-threat environment. In contrast, State contracted for the temporary offices to have a higher standard level of security and ballistic protection than the temporary housing that it built. This means that employees were safer working 24 hours a day rather than returning to their housing, where they should be able to rest, relax, and be safe. The lesson here is clear. When there are no standards or guidance, the results are inconsistent and Americans are unsafe. We have to do a better job of getting our folks into safer new facilities as soon as possible without incurring additional costs. $2 billion, and you're still requesting temporary facilities with no standards, no protection. We did not learn the lessons in Iraq, and that is a crying shame. We look forward to having this hearing and hearing the answers in response to that. But now I'd like to recognize the ranking member, Mr. Cummings.